Hi, everyone. I am so delighted for today's guest. Her name is Rita Black, and she and I are new to each other, but I feel like Rita entered my life in the most beautiful of ways. We've found so many different connections. We've been working together on different projects, and she is a wealth of knowledge about many issues, including hypnosis, smoking cessation, and weight mastery. And I can't wait to dig into these topics with her today on the show and for you all to get to know Rita yourselves. Welcome to the show, Rita.
Oh, what a great introduction. Thank you, Christine. This feeling is mutual. I'm so glad you've come into my life. And hello, everybody. It's really great to be here.
Yes, thank you, Rita. Everyone, you're going to just love this interview. I can already tell. Rita, please do us a favor and just tell us how you got to be in this line of work and what lights you up about the work that you do.
Oh, okay. I am so lucky to do what I do. I will tell you that right now because I meet the most amazing people. I got into hypnosis through the back door. I was actually a client. I was a pack and a half a day smoker for many years. I also struggled with my weight up and down the scale, 40 pounds. I was a binge eater, bulimic, so many weight issues, and chronic dieter. So around the age of 30, I had quit smoking, gone back to smoking, and I was just at my wit's end. I was like, I am never going to be able to quit smoking. How am I going to quit smoking? And then a friend of mine had quit with hypnosis. So she said, why don't you try hypnosis? It was easy. And I was like, that can't be easy. And that's voodoo. And I don't want anybody to get in my mind. And I'm a type A personality and nobody can get in my mind. So anyway, I went, but I was at like my back was up against the wall. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go. And I went to this guy's office and I left, a couple of hours later, a non-smoker. And in the hypnosis session, he kind of explained to me how the mind worked. And I was just really fascinated about it. And basically, in the hypnosis itself, it's not like I was out of it like I thought I would be, or that felt like mind control. It felt like I was in control of my mind and like more than I had. And I really, he really, what the session did for me was reframe how I saw myself. And I know you and I have had conversations about identity before, but that was such the key for me because I left that session as a non-smoker. So I, was wowed by this and I was like, this is so cool. I was kind of lost in my life at that point. I didn't kind of, like I said, I was struggling with my weight and therefore I didn't have a lot of self-esteem or self-confidence. I had a husband who I love, I still love, and I've been with him for many years. But I just didn't feel like I was moving forward with my life in the way I wanted to. So I then thought, oh gosh, hypnosis, if I can change my identity around smoking, maybe I change my identity around my weight and because I was so stuck in this be on a diet, be off a diet, be on a diet, be off a diet. And it really consumed all my thinking. Like literally I would wake up yelling at myself because I overate the night before. I would spend the day, is this food going to make me fat? Am I fat? What do I like? Because I wouldn't wait. Like it was just a mess, a hot mess. And so I was so struggling with that. And so I started using self hypnosis, listening to, because this was the 90s, like cassettes, listening to, remember that you probably are too young
I
to
do
know.
know. I remember cassettes.
When I started being a hypnotherapist, I was using cassettes. That's how long I've been doing this. So anyway, I began a journey of weight loss with hypnosis. And it helped me change my identity, helped me change my beliefs and habits around food so that I really got that long-term weight loss wasn't about being good on a diet or being perfect, but it was really about creating a way of living that allowed me to live at my ideal weight. And that wasn't so much about perfection, but it was about figuring things out and using my mind more creatively and really, and many other things. But so yeah, and so I lost 40 pounds and I've kept them off for 27 years almost because I'm just about to turn 58. Um, So that's kind of my story. And then I went and became a hypnotherapist. I was just like, wow, wow. And I just started helping people in both modalities. I've really focused my career on smoking cessation and weight management. People call me all the time. Oh my gosh, you helped my sister quit smoking. Can you deal with my snake phobia and stuff? And I was like, yeah, well, I'll find somebody for you. I can't do that. So, I mean, it's not I could, but I really decided to master those topics. Just kind of like you have decided to master procrastination, which is, again, something people ask me about all the time, such a powerful and needed modality. So, I mean, or focus. So,
Yes, thank you. Wow. Wow. I think wow is the right word to use here because when you mentioned, and this is the first time that I'm hearing Rita's
oh, okay.
backstory, that the hypnotherapist worked with you and then a couple hours later you walked out a non-smoker. On the video, my jaw dropped and I was thinking internally, wow, because what a beautiful story, what a beautiful outcome. And it sounded like a huge beginning for you that you saw that there was a whole new way you could work with yourself through that session.
Yes. And really, honestly, when we are struggling with something, whether it's procrastination, weight, smoking, we give so much power over to that thing. Oh, I can't do that because or I didn't get that done because I'm a procrastinator, or I, like, oh, I can't, I'm stressed, so I need a cigarette. And when you leave and you go and you are stressed, like within the very first week, my non-smokingness was stressed because my husband and I had a huge fight and he kind of left the house in a big huff and I didn't know he was coming back. I was super scared and I was like, oh, I just went through my husband and I fighting as a non-smoker. That's amazing. So I didn't even care that he was being a big baby and he left, I mean, I did, but I was just so proud of myself for being a non-smoker and having gone through that. And I think when we go through a shift, like an identity change, and we start taking back those parts of our lives we gave away to that other thing, we just can see how powerful our mind is. And I think, as we as human beings give a lot of our power away to other things. And so by helping people in these last 20 years, it's helped me in my life in so many ways just be um so aware of when I'm giving my power away to whatever it is. And I think, like I work in weight management. And I think a lot of times when people go on diets, the mindset is, I feel deprived. I can't have these foods that I have. And I was like, yeah, but some of those foods actually, if you think about it, when you eat them, they completely take your power away from you. And shifting that relationship from, feeling like you miss something to, I mean, you can heal a relationship with the food, but there are certain foods I have learned the way the brain works around certain foods when they're wired and they're like what you would call a trigger food that we probably just shouldn't have, and my trigger foods aren't your trigger foods, aren't somebody else's trigger foods. And because when we use them the way that the food primes the brain, the neural pathways in the brain, the way it's all done, we then want to eat more and more and more. And then that might trigger eating something else and then something else and a pattern, like as we talk about habits and patterns. And so when people are like, oh, I can't have that, I was like, oh no, but you're choosing, you're coming from a place of power because, and so when people make those kinds of shifts and really get that, that opens up a whole new world for them.
Yes, this is incredibly moving to me because there's a pathway that people can take to get relief from this feeling that they're trapped within themselves and they're trapped within their habits. And yes, I can absolutely connect because of the work with procrastination because
Yes.
I'm working with people to help them get their energy unstuck. So it may not be something that we can see, but energy is very important in terms of how we feel about ourselves and how we take ourselves throughout a single day. It really matters.
But you know what? That's so interesting that you would see it as something you can't see, because I do absolutely agree with you that procrastination is like that. But as somebody who talks to people about procrastination too, I don't deal with it, but um, so many people have stuff piled up on their desks. Like it does manifest in their environment as well. I mean, so when you're helping somebody out of that challenge and they're looking in their environment and then they start to have a different relationship with those things in their environment,
Yes.
what a relief.
Yes. Yes. Relief, energy, and everything else that the energy is connected to absolutely gets lightened up. And it sounded like your mind became got on fire when you realized exactly how much control you had and how much
Mhm.
power you had over your own decisions and the food and the cigarettes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, as you go in your life and I think anybody who's what happens when I work with people with weight management, because that's more of a longer term relationship generally, just because, you can stop smoking and never smoke again. But and I do help people stop smoking in one session. And people are always very surprised, like, how can you do that? But it really is one decision that they have to make. And it's only one decision. And with food, and that decision is to become a non-smoker. And that we use hypnosis to get into their whole mind, like the deeper subconscious mind. And I'm happy to explain how that works if you want. I've got my little
Yeah, please do. Yes,
I always
please do.
so those of you who are listening, I'll describe this in a way I hope that then you don't have to, but I'm going to refer to this piece of paper, but it's, so I have the circle and the circle has a line drawn through it, which it represents 12%, which is about how much of our mind is conscious willpower, uh, part of our brain. That's usually the part that wants to quit smoking. That's usually the part that wants to lose weight, make any sort of behavioral change, right? Or even like when I talk to smokers, they'll say, this is also the part that hears all the people around you say, quit smoking, it's bad for you, you shouldn't be doing it, blah, 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 right? And the other 88% of the mind is at the top, I put our identity, which we have talked about before. Our identity, our beliefs, our habits, our memories. Every memory is stored in our subconscious mind, our emotions, and so much more. The part that protects us. So here we have like 12% of our mind that either wants to quit smoking, quit procrastinating, lose weight, and then the other 88% is like, I kind of want to stay the same. I want to keep that. You're telling me to quit smoking. That made me just kind of want to keep smoking. Or where we think about losing weight was like, I'll wait until Monday and I'll just, we'll just eat everything else until then. So what happens over time, or what I've come to understand, is like from birth into in our 20s, everything our parents, teachers, life experiences get imprinted on this bigger subconscious part of the mind. And then over time, we develop what you would call like this critical filter. And the critical filter is created and is very ingenious of the brain, because our brain's like a computer. It's taking in so many bits, millions and millions of bits of information every second. And it needs a sorting device to sort of say, pay attention to this, don't pay attention, that is nonsense, don't even like go there. So the stuff that the brain's filtering out is stuff that doesn't agree with our worldview, our morals, the way, and that's kind of um why, we everybody is different, everybody has their own belief systems, and now social media and the way we live in this world, everything is just kind of reinforced in our subconscious mind, so change becomes hard. So what happens with hypnosis is that it in a hypnotic trance or state, which feels really normal, it feels like a meditation, I call it meditation with a mission, basically, is that critical filter becomes relaxed. So we're able to give suggestions to the subconscious mind that it wouldn't normally take on. And a lot of times, the way that we're doing it, and the way that why you want to work with a specialist, is because we're able to present information to the conscious mind in a way that it will accept it. So it won't reject it. Because here's the thing, I can't tell you what to do. You have got to want to consciously make that change. So people are always afraid, like, well, they aren't always afraid. Like when I started my career, everybody was like, you're going to get in my mind. I just worked with a celebrity um, uh, a couple of weeks ago who absolutely was so it was so funny because the celebrity was a tough guy and he was just like, you're going to get in my mind, and I'm like, if I could get in your mind, my husband would pick up his socks, like if I could hypnotize my husband to pick up his socks, my life would be so much better. I can't make you do anything you don't want to do. But
Uh-huh.
if the person wants to change, hypnosis can be a very effective way to make those changes on a deeper level and get alignment. So with smoking cessation, it can happen in one session because we're getting the not just the conscious mind, but your beliefs like, okay, yep, I'm going to be a non-smoker. I'm going to wake up and instead of having a cigarette, I'm going to, take a deep breath and have my cup of coffee as a non-smoker, like, and really refocus the way the brain operates. Do you think about smoking? Yeah, like thoughts of cigarettes might go through your mind, but your relationship to those thoughts, they go through your mind more quickly and they dissipate. And then the neural wiring I talk about goes into hibernation, and so the person is able to really pretty quickly move forward in their life as a non-smoker. But it's not like they forget that they smoked or anything like that. I think that's where it gets into voodoo.
Okay. So I'm stuck on the word on your
Uh-huh.
image there, beliefs,
Yeah.
because I know when you were telling your story about your own smoking history,
Mhm.
you thought and grappled with the fear that you would never be able to find your way out, that you would never be able to really settle this. And
Right.
I'm assuming that was a belief. We can categorize
Mhm.
that as a
Mhm.
belief. And I'm wondering if you could talk to us about just how come those beliefs have such a strong hold on us.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is that, we talked about identity. So there's beliefs and identity. And one of those things about being a smoker is that it becomes a world, right? And procrastination becomes a world and weight struggle becomes a world. So I call it the house of smoking. We're kind of living in this house and it's painful and it's frustrating. But when we try to leave, we feel like we're on the street. And when we start smoking, when somebody starts smoking, we start assigning value to the cigarette. Like, up until somebody's 15, 16, 17, they've never needed a cigarette to be stressed. They've never needed a cigarette to um, have breakfast or wake up or solve a problem. But what happens is they'll smoke their first cigarette and their brain will go, oh, I see. The cigarette helps me be cool, right? So we literally take our cool from us and we give it to the cigarette. And now we need that cigarette to be cool, right? And then we start assigning it other. It's so amazing. I'll tell you the story because this shows you how, because people will come to me all the time, and smoking is so black and white in a weird way. So it's easier to talk about than weight, which is a little more gray area. But people will sit and smoke a cigarette or vape and be like, why am I doing this? This is insane. It doesn't taste good. I'm hiding in a bathroom or I'm hiding in my backyard. And then this other part of their brain is like, because you love it, right? Like, so there's that duality.
Yes.
And this woman came to me and she was in her early 40s. And this is it's such a crazy story, but this is how crazy our brains are. Is she was in a wheelchair and she said to me, you know what, Rita, um, I have COPD and emphysema, and if I don't stop smoking, I will die. And she was young to have bad lungs like that. But anyway, she said, but I love smoking, right? Like, so I'm here because I need to quit smoking, but I love smoking. And I was like, oh, okay, great. What do you love about smoking? And then she kind of looked at me like, huh? And I was like, well, what do you love about smoking? And she's like, nobody's ever asked me that question before. I was like, okay, yeah, but what do you love? And then she's like, wow, it's so weird. I'm having a hard time thinking about what I love about smoking, but I like it with my coffee in the morning. I was like, oh, okay. That actually isn't smoking. That's an association you've made with coffee. Smoking is breathing. that smoke or that vapor into your lungs and breathing it out. And that is smoking. Everything around it is an association. So, what do you love about smoking? And she's like, "Oh, I don't like that part." Like, so that is how crazy our brains are when it comes to making change. There's a part of us that's like, "I'm insane. I'm a fool. Why am I doing this? Why am I overeating? Why am I smoking? Why am I pushing off and procrastinating? I should get this done." But this other part, it's safe. It's familiar. It's what you know. And so that is what we're up against, is really integrating the two parts of the mind to be on the same page, to and I know you work with this as well, like to look at your identity and start to step into a new identity, to start to believe from a different place, not about not smoking, because most people are like, how am I going to have my coffee without a cigarette? And I was like, you never have to do that. You just have your coffee as a non-smoker. And in their mind, they're like, oh my God, I've never thought of it. But you're reintroducing, it's called a cognitive reframe, like how people see themselves, how they see their beliefs, so that old beliefs can melt away really quickly when you give them a new belief system based on their identity. And then we talk about habit, because smoking is a pattern. A lot of our eating is patterns, and we think of taking away our cigarettes from the day, or we take away our food, rather than creating a new self-care structure that is creative rather than deletive. So I take away words like without, trying to do this without a cigarette or without my thing or without a cookie or without whatever. It's like, oh no, we don't like those words, because those are words of deprivation rather than transformation. And we're stepping in and creating something new, because the brain loves to work like that. So that's a lot of how I help people, is really, and it sounds like from what we've talked about, you do too, is like repositioning how people see themselves, and start to and talk to themselves differently and see their world differently.
Yes, as you've been talking, I've been thinking, well, why exactly is hypnosis needed? And I'm wondering if it's because if you're just talking like this, there's there's a little less integration with how your body is reacting and actually acting. Is that correct to think?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really great way of putting it. When I work with people, I work in two ways. So I'm not just doing hypnosis. There are a lot of hypnotherapists who would just like sit you down in a chair and do a hypnosis session for stopping smoking. But I really am a big believer in coaching the person and getting their brain, like using CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, neuro linguistic programming, like what we're talking about, like reframing is a neuro linguistic programming technique. Prior to the hypnosis, one, for them to trust me, because I think trust is a very, very important part of hypnosis, um, for it to be impactful. And two, um, for them to really believe they can do it. Because I really don't think, like I said, hypnosis isn't magic. But what I do is, like I say, we're creating something here, talking to each other. And then hypnosis is going to take it all to the deeper level and get all those different parts of your brain to sign off on it. Because there's, conscious intellectual learning. And I know, like through coaching and therapy too, it's limbic learning. So people are getting subconscious value in your conversations. So it's not, but hypnosis is just a modality that can speed up the process of something like quitting smoking, or even weight management, which people can know the root of why they overeat. But a lot of times, that knowing isn't going to help them. It may help them with some things, but it might not help them, when they're staring down a cookie or, the pint of ice cream after dinner at night. And, hypnosis is just a way to align with deeper change more quickly. And I think with something like weight management, smoking, most people don't start until they're 15 is kind of the youngest. There are definitely, I've worked with people who smoked when they were 11 or, uh, but the main age we don't, but like weight management for a lot of people struggle with their weight from when they're a kid. So those things are also really deeply embedded. They're also generational. Like my mom struggled with her weight. She was obese. There's a lot of genetic propensity, like for sugar and carbs that run in family trees, or addiction that run in families trees. So you're dealing with not only your beliefs, but the beliefs of your parents, the beliefs of your grandparents, your beliefs of your culture. I work with a lot of different people from different cultures because I'm in LA, and it's really fascinating to see like my Armenian clients and their conditioning about weight and how women should be and men should be, and from my Korean clients or my Iranian clients or my clients from the Midwest or the New Yorker clients, it's fascinating how we're all wired differently. But we do have, and I'm sure do you see this too with procrastination? I'm sure you must, because you probably work with all different types of people from all different walks of life, right? Because it cuts across all socioeconomic um, worlds,
Yes.
um, that the pain is pretty much the same.
Yes. Yes. Yes,
But
I would
but
agree
but
with that.
a lot of those beliefs and habits are wired in differently, and
Yeah. We come to
so
it from our unique lives and our unique personalities and wiring for sure. And I think it's fascinating to see how everyone can at root be struggling with very similar concepts and
Mhm.
feelings and states of being and false beliefs of about themselves that we can really be walking around be be our worst enemies in terms of limiting our own power to be well, to be fully ourselves, to be working to our potential. It's amazing. And a lot of it is accidental. So much of it is innocent. So much of it is culturally shaped. It is really fascinating. And so both of us are really working with all the different systems at once, I think. Absolutely. It makes fascinating work, but we're really kind of helping people to release themselves, it sounds like.
Yeah, and open up that new path forward, like you were saying, which is creative. I mean, I think what you do is very creative too. It using the mind in a creative way rather than a shame way, rather than a deletive. Uh, don't do that. Brain doesn't. I don't think the brain understands. Don't like
Don't.
we were, yeah, like don't, like I was trained when I became a hypnotherapist. I don't know how, to the degree I believe this 100%. I think it's pretty true that our minds don't process don't. So like don't go to McDonald's, we hear go to McDonald's.
Yes, I was taught the same, so we'll assume that this is true.
Yeah. 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 So, and I hear people doting themselves all the time. And I was like, don't do that. Oh, there you go.
I
That's
want
cool.
to I want to put in something that I've been sharing with my clients recently, and
Mm.
this is a relatively new thing that I've tried to come up with, is that we stay in procrastination because we feel that any more expenditure of energy is just going to be more waste. It's a
Mm.
waste of time. I can't do it anyway. I've tried before. I always am stuck here. And so, one way out of that stuck place is to design an action that will feel like it's giving you your energy back
Ooh.
or lightening your load somehow. And that can be a trick. And you might need to consult with someone to kind of get that one little thing that can give you that freedom, but it's the sense that it's going to make sense to my brain and I'm going to allow myself to proceed after I feel that reinvigoration. Instead of feeling depleted, I want to feel alive. We all essentially want to feel
Mm.
alive and enlivened and well.
Mhm.
Smokers, addicts, people who are
Mhm.
struggling with their weight, procrastinators, everyone is the same in this
Yes.
way, I believe. And Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that tool. That's an awesome tool. I can see that that would be really engaging.
And when we feel low about ourselves because we've been engaging in habits that aren't great for us, we're coming up with not the healthiest or most vibrant of ideas sometimes because we're feeling a little depressed, we're feeling a little anxious,
Mhm,
we're feeling a little spent, we haven't been sleeping, things like that. And
mhm.
so we're expecting ourselves to be brilliant self-releasers when we've been disabled for a while because of these habits.
Well, I think also what that tool you just discussed does was it kind of gives the person permission to have a little advocacy for themselves and a little self love is the easy word, but like self respect. Because I think when we self identify in a negative way and we keep dis- disconnecting from ourselves by not showing up for ourselves, by reaching for that cigarette, or by saying we're going to, you know, eat chicken and broccoli today, and then we don't. And each time we do it, our brain sees that and says, "Oh, you didn't do that," right? So then we disconnect from ourselves. We lack respect for ourselves. We lack self advocacy because we develop that very critical inner speak. So that tool you're talking about is very, it really demands that person respect themselves enough to care that they feel good about that first step. So I can see that as like, well, you could call it a brain trick, but it is really making their brain engage from a different perspective, which is really brilliant.
Thank you. I also assume that the person does care. Like
They do.
that's my first assumption is that they care to find this thing for themselves. So let's do this, right? So
Yeah, well, and they're engaging with you obviously because they care, but yeah, but there's that apathy. The apathy I think comes a lot from like it's that same thing. Like I work with, and I'm sure you do too, brilliant people who are highly functioning, who are like, this is the thing in my life that like just is like why I hide it. Nobody like, or it just is so shameful, and I'm amazing other ways in my life. Why is this? And but that relationship with ourselves and that part of our lives is just so uh, disrespectful and disparaging, and like you said, you're just stuck in this world. It's like the evil stepmother is guarding the door, and you not going to let you out.
and the sad just part of that story is that part of us agrees with the stepmother. And I
Yes.
think that's the lock, right? That's when people are
Mm,
really thinking, I am never getting out of this dungeon. And really it's like, and we see everyone being living their lives more fully in our perception. So
yeah.
it really is a deep pit of pain. But I'm so glad we were able to just dig in with you today, Rita, about
Mm,
the fact that there are very reasonable, very fascinating, very powerful and effective ways to heal that system that has been going through so much pain, the body, the mind, the spirit,
right.
the habits, the daily habits, the coffee, the weight,
Yeah. Yeah.
the relationships, everything.
Yeah. And if you want uh just speaking to your listeners, something I've been doing for years uh that helps me with my like monthly goals is I will just record my monthly goals as if they've already happened as a gratitude list. I don't know, I'm sure you've done that before too, but I actually record them on my phone, and then I just play them every morning in my um just before I wake up, because that's kind of a hypnotic, natural hypnotic time. Your brain is like sort of in that sort of hypnotic trance state. It's a great time to just listen with an open mind, and before you start your day.
I
Um,
have chills listening to that. I have never done that. I have been instructed to write that kind of thing out, like, my
Mm.
future wishes are happening in the present tense. And I found that really works powerfully. Could you give us a sampling of what you might say to yourself for that morning recording?
Sure. Like I start from a hierarchical thing of like, I am grateful, and I think about my meaning in the world. So I start from like, I'm really grateful that I've been able to make an impact on the people that I'm serving this month in a way maybe that's deeper than ever before. And so that helps my subconscious mind just go, ooh, deeper than ever before. Let's see what that is, right? And then I'm like, I'm really grateful that I'm really connected with my husband and we enjoy the things that we share together and on a deep level, and then with my son and my daughter, because my daughter's away. And so it's not only, it so helps me remind myself like I'm, to connect. Oh, yes, connect today, because it's so easy to get in our own little world. Or I got to do this, I got to do that, right? And then I bring it to me and my health, like focusing on like, I'm really grateful that I exercised and took care of my body, that I made healthy food choices, that I maintained my weight, because like I've been maintaining my weight for 26 years. So, um, and on and so forth. So I always start with my highest level, and then I try to, like why I feel like I'm here and what I'm serving, and then I move it to my family, and then I'm so grateful my family stayed safe this month and we were healthy, and then during COVID, every day I was just like, I'm so grateful that we are COVID free. Like it was just all, but you can get, your list can get long quickly if you start to think about all the things, but yeah, and then I just go in and I'm really grateful for this day. And then I hope, and you can, you know, because I'm a hypnotherapist and now you can open your eyes and get on with a great day.
I had chills throughout that
Oh,
description and the examples you gave. And I just feel like, wow, just what a gift. What a gift that we can
yeah.
give ourselves in the morning.
Yeah, and it's so simple. The one thing you have to get over, I will admit, and I had to get over this, and I am a hypnotherapist, and like I said, I've been taping my voice for 20 plus years. Um, is you might feel a little weird listening to yourself in the beginning, but you get used to it really, really quickly. And every month, if you do this on a monthly basis or a bi-monthly basis or whatever you do, it gets easier and easier to do, and you get so used to the sound of your voice, it doesn't jar you. In the beginning, I was like, "Oh, that's weird," but then I got really, really for myself, because I'm totally used to listening to myself. I have a podcast, I have whatever. I have a million things that I listen to my voice on, but not talking to myself. That's kind of was new.
I love it. Well, I have fully loved getting to know you, talking to you,
Oh, thank you.
especially on this podcast where I learned so much and got a free gift at the end with the new exercise I'm going to try right away.
Oh, good, 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 good.
Yes. And I know that you have a wonderful event coming up soon. Could you please tell our listeners about how to join up with you?
Yes, yes. So I'm coming up, if this, you're listening to this in the autumn or the spring of any autumn and spring, or every autumn and spring, I do a launch, and I am offering a free master class called How to Stop the Start Over Tomorrow Weight Struggle Cycle and Start Releasing Weight for Good. And really, what this is about is really a very specific. So, I've talked to you about how the brain works around and why it's people get so frustrated with themselves about not being able to lose weight despite probably going on every diet. Like, I have a joke. I said, most people I know could write a diet book and have people lose weight. It's not from a lack of understanding how to lose weight, but how to work with your brain effectively for weight management. And so, a little epidemic that is kind of going on right now are people are really stuck in being good. Then they'll, eat something that they weren't supposed to eat or they didn't deem as good. And then they'll be like, I blew it. And that internal feeling of failing is so, it triggers them into, I'll start over tomorrow. And the problem with that is then they'll start over tomorrow and I'll be perfect tomorrow. Then tripwires another behavioral pattern, which is eating everything until they start over tomorrow. Because there's a really crazy thing about the mind is that when you make a promise for future action, and I think this is probably the same with procrastination, like I will be I'm going to clean it all up on Monday. It's all going to be perfect on Monday. Then it gives the person kind of like that time out to do the behavior even more.
Yes.
And so that is what happens. And then people find themselves gaining the weight back that they lost that week or gaining the weight back that they lost over the last 6 months. So it's a perpetual, habitual cycle. And so in this masterclass, I walk you through how to shift the three major mind shifts that you need to make in order to shift out of this and really get yourself on the path of long-term permanent weight mastery.
Sounds wonderful. I will see everyone who's joining Rita at the masterclass. And we have developed this link so that you can register for the
Yes,
masterclass.
thank you, Christine, for making it easy for your listeners.
No problem. It is maketimeforsuccesspodcast.com/weight mastery. Again, it's maketimeforsuccesspodcast.com/weight mastery. And I really do encourage anyone who feels like they are struggling, they're feeling the pain of the back and forth, and feeling like they want to reconnect with their own powerful self, to connect with Rita and learn more from her and enjoy more of her wonderful experience and stories and examples and gifts that she has to share.
Wow, thank you, Christine.
Thank you,
Yes,
Rita.
come and join us. We always have fun at this masterclass. It will be a great time, I assure you. So please come.
Okay, terrific. And before we go, where else can people connect with you on social media?
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I have a podcast called the Thin Thinking Podcast, and your lovely host here, Christine, is on my podcast in one episode. I also have a book called From Fat to Thin Thinking: Unlock Your Mind for Permanent Weight Loss, which is on Amazon. Um, and it has hypnosis with it. You get hypnosis downloads with it, so that's kind of cool too. And then www.shiftweightmastery.com. And everything you find me on is Shift Weight Mastery, like Shift, SHIFT, Weight Mastery, and Instagram and Facebook, all that stuff.
Okay, terrific.
Thank you.
Well, I think this is a wonderful time to say farewell, say our gratitude to Rita. Thank you so much again for being here.
Oh, this was such a joy. Thank you for having me, Christine. It was so lovely.
And so, to our listeners, we both wish you every joy and power with your habits, your choices, and your life. Let's go get them. See you next Thursday. Bye.
Woo.